Well, it's a real honor to be the honorary crew member here. I am going to start by introducing the people that are not here, right? So we have the three members of the crew here, but there is Luisa, who is the founder of Pirañas Crew. She's now mother of a beautiful new pirañita. That's one of the reasons why she's not here. There's Laura, who is a digital designer. Mariluz, who does more of the performing arts. Karen, an anthropologist who has done excellent, very insightful work in this idea of feminizing the public space. Alejandra, who is the accountant of the crew. And lastly, Geraldine, who is also mostly in the performing arts, from what I understand. So now with us, we have here Juliana, or Juli. Juli is, first of all, the director of this documentary, and your work is mostly in the audiovisuals. Juli is also a cultural promoter in Medellin and in other places of the world, including Argentina, Panama, and Brazil. So her work is mostly in the intersection of urban art, film for the most part, and community. We have Lieke, who is Dutch, but who has been living in Colombia for the past 7 years, so somewhat. So Lieke, it's a researcher who actually is submitting her doctoral dissertation in the next coming days. So we're all very happy about that. And focusing especially in Latin American studies, in the case of Medellin. So an anthropologist who is a feminist and of course a painter. And lastly, Angela, who actually has been the person that has brought us together many years ago. And Angela is a lawyer, a feminist lawyer, a member of Pirañas since 2018, does research especially on gender studies, and a professor at the University of Medellin in Medellin. Okay, so with those introductions, I will post, well, first of all, this is the way we're going to do this. I am going to moderate and translate. So please be patient. I will try to do my best. There are very sophisticated ideas that I will try to make available to you. So we'll begin with the first question or point of discussion for us, which has to do, Angela, with the context, right? So Colombia has been living a 70-plus civil war, internal conflict, and then the context in itself, it's especially violent for different reasons. And so why don't you tell us, Angela, more about the context, particularly in Medellin, in which Las Pirañas sort of developed or was born? Está listo.
Un saludo, hablaré en español. Entonces, bueno, ahí nos vamos yendo. Para hablarles un poco, creo que el documental recoge en gran parte la experiencia de Pirañas.
So the documentary encapsulates the experience to a great degree of Las Pirañas.
Y precisamente a qué responde puntualmente la práctica artística y de resistencia.
And it answers the question of to what is it that Las Pirañas responds to.
Somos muy conscientes de la potencia que hay en lo artístico, especialmente en los murales como portavoces.
So they understand the power that art has, specifically the murals in the public sphere.
Y por supuesto, somos muy sensibles a lo que pasa alrededor de la defensa de los derechos humanos de las mujeres.
And they are very sensible to the defense of human rights, especially to the rights of women.
Reconocemos las violencias basadas en género contra las mujeres y las poblaciones disidentes sexualmente.
And so they recognize or are conscious about the violence that is done against particularly women and non-homogenic gender identity.
Como un problema de salud pública, de seguridad, por supuesto, humana y de derechos humanos.
So three points that they recognize as being part of this kind of violence. One has to do with human rights, derechos humanos, public health, y la última era salud pública, derechos humanos,
humana, salud
and human security.
Para hablarles de un contexto puntual actual hoy en Colombia, hablamos de que entre enero y febrero se han presentado 95 casos de violencia fatal contra las mujeres. Y eso nos muestra que la violencia no se detiene y que hay que responder ante ella y hacer algo.
So just to give you a contextual example, between only in the months of January and February, there have been 95 cases of violence against women in Colombia. Feminicides.
Y el año pasado, 2024, cierra con la cifra más alta de feminicidios desde que se tiene registro de la misma. Es decir, que es un problema que realmente nos ocupa y frente al cual queremos también visibilizar y exigir que no siga sucediendo.
And so last year, the year closed with the highest rate of feminicides since the moment in which these have been recorded.
Eso es lo que nos moviliza, por un lado. Por otro lado, está toda esta apuesta de la amistad como un asunto político y que nos permite vivir de una forma más tranquila y habitar la ciudad.
So that's one sort of area. The other one has to do with the idea of friendship as a political act, and friendship as a way to inhabit the city and the public space in a more friendly manner.
Y por eso estar juntas y partir también desde las apuestas artísticas nos permite como vivir en ese mundo que soñamos que es posible, justamente de cara al 8 de marzo, por ejemplo, que es, bueno, como el Día Internacional de la Conmemoración de Derechos de las Mujeres.
And so one of the moments that are important, especially during this month, the 8th of March, of inhabiting, drawn from this idea of friendship as a political act of inhabiting the city and walking the city from that perspective.
Ustedes tuvieron la posibilidad de ver un proyecto que es parte de una cosa que es más grande, que es Pirañas. Digamos, Girls to the Front hace parte de lo que es Pirañas, que es una colectiva que está funcionando, que está habilitada en la ciudad desde ya hace 12 años, 2013.
So you were able to see in the documentary just one of the projects or one of the aspects of Pirañas Crew, that Pirañas Crew has been present in Medellín since 2012, o hace 12 años, for 12 years already. And you saw Girls to the Front, which is just one of the areas of work that they do or that they have done in the last 12 years.
Y por supuesto, eso ha traído también algunos retos y aprendizajes alrededor de lo que ha sucedido y lo que significa construir en colectividad. Las apuestas que queremos. Yo siento que Pirañas también es una voz que hace falta en términos incluso del arte urbano gráfico y la voz de las mujeres dentro de la ciudad y el espacio público.
Sí. Okay, so there are challenges as well and learnings that they have had, and one has to do with the role of or the presence of women in the urban art sphere, which is a very masculine sphere. Creo que perdí la mitad de lo que dijiste. ¿Quieres de pronto llenar un poquito? O si lo puse. Perfecto. Oh, so one of the challenges has been on the collective construction. That's one of their main challenges to be able to do that well.
Y de pronto esto que también hemos identificado que la voz de Pirañas es una voz que reclama la ciudad, ¿sí? Pues como que, porque en el arte urbano, si bien hay mujeres pintando, por supuesto, la apuesta feminista también es otra, o sea, el arte feminista, lo que eso implica, tiene otras connotaciones.
So they have identified that the voice of Las Pirañas Crew is an important voice in the city. There are other women who are painting as well, but the perspective that the Pirañas Crew has taken opens up other conversations in the city. So that's one of their findings is that they call or open up space for other type of conversations around urban art. Okay, wonderful. Gracias, Angela. Well, now thinking about challenges, learnings, Like, well, Angela already mentioned it, but the hip-hop culture is very masculine. The construction of the public space is very masculine. What are some of the challenges, on the one hand, that you guys have encountered as women painting and taking the public space? And also, what are some of the learnings that you guys have identified?
Well, thank you for this space. Thank you for inviting us. It's an honor to be here. So, like you said, the hip-hop and street art world is very much a masculine, male-dominated world, where there's a very almost hostile and unwelcoming attitude towards women. And so, as women, you really have to persist and believe in yourself and continue to resist, these masculine structures. And then, in addition to this, there's the very man-dominated public space where, like Angela also said, there are many forms of insecurities, including gender-based violence. And while painting, we experience those realities of both the man-dominated street art world and of the posture, the attitude towards women when painting in public space. So this has always been very difficult. So while painting, we receive a lot of comments, and both from our body, from what we are painting, from who we are, from the fact that we are women painting in public space, but also from within the street art community. So especially in the beginning of in the years of the collective, there was a lot of censure, also like we saw in the documentary. And I remember Luisa once telling me, and actually in one of the murals that we painted once, that we, in general, like maybe you've also seen, we make a lot of portraits of women that we find important, that we represent. And so in the beginning of our collective, it would often happen that male graffiteros, street artists and graffiti artists would paint penises over the faces of women within 24 hours after finishing them. The censure that happened of the social leader, Doña Luz, and so Doña Marta. And so these are struggles that are very real and very complex. And so I think one of the things that we've learned, and I think that's also related to what we've heard today, is that one of the things that we've tried to manage and navigate these realities is by uniting as women together, first and foremost in our women-only space, and try to develop strategies and think, okay, so how do we respond? Do we respond to the man who's making a sexual comment? Well, I'm standing on a ladder. No, today not. Or right now I won't. But yes, we do want to respond to someone who's covering up the face of a female leader. And I think one of the things that has been very important in Pirañas is to come together and to discuss together, okay, how do we feel? how can we guarantee our safety? What strategies can we employ to make sure that we are safe when we're painting together, but also to make sure that we keep on being motivated. And I think there it's also the friendship is very important to us, because it motivates us to continue, because it's also very frustrating to be censored all the time and to have your messages and the social imaginaries that we try to translate into our murals, to have them erased every single time. So it takes a lot of persistence. And I think, as Mariluz, I think, also says, like, la juntanza is one of the key strategies that we've used, but not only within our collective, but also with collaborating, like with our platform Girls to the Front. I think that's a good example of also collaborations with other organizations, like-minded organizations, to collectively discuss certain topics, but also share experiences, and yeah, try to collectively search for ways to contest the inequalities. And I think for my time since 2017 and now, you can see that there's a lot more women participating in street art. I remember that when I joined Pirañas, Luisa told me very proudly, we're the only all-women street art crew in Medellin. And we were like, oh, that's amazing. Yes, we are. And now we're not. So that's definitely an improvement, and you see more women participating, but then still in a hip-hop culture that has been dominated by men forever, the public space and these cultural practices that have been dominated by men. It takes a lot of work, and I think it relates to what Beth said before, that we have to persist and try in all different levels that we can to unite with more women and to strategize together to see how we can mobilize in gender mixed spaces and how we can make our voices heard. Yeah, I think that's what we've learned so far.
Okay, so I do have a question, but I'll leave it for the end, about the power of art. So Angela, you mentioned it. We have talked about it in Medellin for years, but I'll ask that question after we learn a little more about the making of the documentary, Juli. So this has been a titanic project for you. Why don't you tell us a little more? How did you, or when, how did you think about producing this documentary? How was the process of collecting the images, the data? Yeah, let's start with that.
Bueno, good night for everyone. I'm very pleased to be here. Very honored. It's a wonderful pleasure to see my sisters in the big screen. They have been very present, not only today, but all of these days that we have been here in the city. So to talk about the process, this was very important for me as an audiovisual communicator, because I started at Pirañas not with the audiovisual communicator shirt, but with more like an approach to art happening in the streets and gathering with my friends. So I joined the collective in 2018, and this documentary, we made it in 2022. We recorded especially for the making of the documentary. So 4 years happened between I started in the collective, and then the idea of a video came. No, so we have been doing Girls to the Front platform since 2017, and in the 2022 version, you guys came to visit us, and I wanted to include the audiovisual component, not only to make the big wall, but to have an audiovisual a product afterwards. So this was supposed to be a 3-minute video for social media. But then, like, I started to ask myself, why do I want to tell? No.
So if it's a Girls to the Front video, then we should talk about the history behind it. But it turns out that the history behind it was like 4 years ago, when I wasn't even part of the crew. So I started to find that there was photo, there was a video, there was archive material, and I started to knit. I felt like that. Like I was gathering the pieces. At that time, I was also like trying to understand what was the alcance, enhance, the reach that we wanted to have for this piece, and the project allowed me time and space to gather a piece that I think sums up very shortly all of the things that we have done. So by the time I felt, I was also consulting with the crew, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Should we deepen more in this? Because Pirañas makes lots of different activities. I mean, Girls to the Front is one part of our activities, but there are plenty. So whenever I watch the documentary, I feel like this is a part of all of the things that we do, all of the things we dream to do, but still we have to walk towards it. But I think it's a great start, and it's also a great way to honor all of the other girls that make part of the crew. Finally, the documentary shows up our work, so definitely there wouldn't be a documentary if there wasn't a crew behind it, painting and looking up for convocatorias, for funds, for alliances, for things that we dreamed to. I mean, we dreamt to be here. We dreamt with this day, the very moment we were painting back in 2002. That is the mural that we painted. It's the like. When the 3-minute video got bigger, and I thought this is a chance to make a larger product. I think these days we were talking and we said we dreamt of this moment. So it's like a circle, and it's a very good way to expose and share the important work not only Pirañas is making, because in the sequence of the march, like, we get to see lots of collective of young women that are making all of this revolution happen. So it's a privilege to be part of it.
Wonderful. So as people, we want to open this for a wider conversation. As you start thinking about questions for this panel, I want to pose a question about art and connecting it to the previous panel, right? So there is this conversation about the power of track 1 negotiations in the making of peace, which is indeed important. But Colombia has had a peace process, a disarmament of a guerrilla group. And with what Angela gave us as a data, violence persists, right? And it's through the work of what we call everyday peace, but through the work of crews like Pirañas and others, that peace is felt in an everyday basis. And part of it has to do with art. And so we have talked about this in many moments, but I think it'll be interesting also to with this audience, tell them a little bit, what is it that you think art has that is different from any other tool, if you will, for creating spaces of peace? ¿Entendiste o te traduzco? No, solamente... Sí, ¿por qué el arte? ¿Por qué el arte y por qué no otra herramienta que tenga tanto poder, digamos? O sea, ¿cuál es el poder del arte, mejor dicho, en la transformación de un espacio?
Yo creo que el arte ejerce como varias funciones. Una de ellas es la construcción de memoria, como preguntarse si puede ser la memoria una herramienta también para construir paz.
So the first part has to do with the construction of historical memory. So and the question there would be to ask ourselves, what is the role of memory in the construction of peace?
Porque precisamente la construcción de memoria, incluso en medio del conflicto urbano y nacional, nos permite entender incluso cómo las prácticas de resistencia nos han llevado a otros lugares para decir que no queremos eso.
So within the urban conflict and the national conflict, in the case of Colombia, the construction of memory allows for the connection between different peace seekers and to recognize that many people do not want to contribute to the strengthening of a conflict.
El arte urbano sirve para hablar de lo que nadie quiere hablar o de lo que los medios oficiales no quieren transmitir.
And so urban art also serves another purpose, and it's that it communicates things that other people do not want to communicate, that the conventional media does not communicate.
Incluso en Colombia, esta práctica artística ha sido incluso protegida jurídicamente, precisamente alrededor de prácticas de censura que hay cuando se busca que el arte se conecte con la memoria.
In the case of Colombia, there are laws prohibiting or limiting the relationship between art and historical memory.
Hay varios hechos puntuales, todo lo que se ha relacionado con ejecuciones extrajudiciales y el mural, por ejemplo, de quien dio la orden, que denunciaba pues como a diferentes militares. Yo sé que tú sabes, pero el segundo, por ejemplo, alrededor de las desapariciones forzadas y todo lo que ha ocurrido en la Comuna 13 alrededor de la escombrera y que recientemente también fue parte de la discusión pública sobre la memoria de las madres de hijos e hijas desaparecidas.
So a case in point about this, the role of art to communicate things that are censored, is the case of murals with the slogan "Who gave the order," which asks whether a general, a president, who was the one that gave the order for irregular executions, or what we very wrongly called false positives in Colombia, extrajudicial executions, pretty much. Those murals asking who gave the order have been censored in Colombia, and so lately, with a lot of relationships between urban art and mothers of the disappeared, these murals and these slogans have become more widespread, and as the result of that, the censorship has been also stronger.
Y ya para finalizar, en el estallido social que ocurrió en el 2021, también sirvió, por ejemplo, a todo el movimiento feminista para denunciar violencia policial y lo que estaba ocurriendo puntualmente con las mujeres. En suma, el arte es una herramienta para resistir precisamente a eso que no queremos, a eso que ya no queremos, y no debemos tampoco como darle la espalda.
So there was a general strike or a national strike. Ese fue en el 2021, perdón. So a general strike in 2021, right before the presidential elections, and that served, this strike served for them to denounce police brutality against women. And so generally, the point is that art is able to communicate matters that otherwise wouldn't be communicated. Okay, and with that, why don't we open up for some questions from you guys, if there are any. And if you can ask the question in Spanish and then, or
I might not be able to.
Okay.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm not a student here, so I want to say thank you to the organisers for putting on these public events. I'm interested to know about the reaction, if any, positive or negative, from government or local government to the feminizing of public spaces, or if you felt that this put any pressure on law enforcement to strengthen security of women in Medellín.
¿Cuál ha sido la respuesta del sector público con esta apuesta de ustedes de feminizar el espacio público?
Gracias. Creo que las respuestas son variadas. Digamos que, por una parte, encontramos el apoyo de las personas que entienden que esto hay que decirlo.
So the support has been in various aspects, and there is a sector that supports what they're doing.
Pero por otra parte, también hay ejercicios de violencia simbólica y de censura.
So, and then there is another part that they address, which has to do with sensory and with symbolic violence.
Violencia simbólica porque finalmente somos mujeres durante largas horas o en una larga jornada pintando en el espacio público, finalmente expuestas también a prácticas, por ejemplo, de acoso sexual callejero.
So they are a group of women painting in the public space for long periods of time, and they are sometimes subjected to sexual harassment in the public space.
Y por eso buscamos también estrategias para cuidarnos y estar juntas, porque precisamente hay que protegernos también de esas formas de violencia.
And so they have built strategies to protect themselves from those forms of violence. Cuando yo dije público, creo que ella se refería también al gobierno. O sea, ¿cuál ha sido? Exacto.
Ok. Voy a terminar
Policía y Estado.
Frente a lo segundo, creo que acá lo puedo conectar y es como el ejercicio de la censura. Digamos que no está muy bien visto que las mujeres pinten sobre su propio cuerpo, sobre su propia sexualidad, sobre su derecho o no a maternar. Bueno, su derecho a maternar, pero su derecho a decidir si desean o no hacerlo.
So when it comes to the sensory part, there is a rejection or a limitation to allow or to see women painting about their sexuality, their reproductive rights, their relationship, the relationship of the body and sexuality on a public space.
Y uno podría decir que, digamos, el gobierno nacional está mucho más alineado con las prácticas de arte urbano gráfico, pero como finalmente hay autonomía, digamos, local, en Medellín propiamente esto no está tan bien visto y la misma administración, la alcaldía, viene incluso recientemente borrando murales para finalmente cumplir su promesa de una ciudad muy limpia o muy bonita.
So there has been some responses by the especially the local administration, the municipality, and lately this administration has erased some of the murals with this idea of cleanliness, of having a clean city.
Y, perdón, como para finalizar y no tomarme la palabra. Y lo último es que en términos también como presupuestales y de financiación, se ha disminuido muchísimo. Incluso como la Secretaría de Cultura recientemente sacó unos estímulos y el presupuesto se redujo considerablemente. Entonces, presupuestalmente tampoco hay una apuesta frente al arte urbano que quiera o pretenda fortalecerlo. Y eso ha sido regresivo. Esto no era así antes, estaba.
So the other aspect that has to do more with the state and its functioning is that there has been a reduction with, especially in the Secretariat of Culture. And so projects that are around urban art have not received as much funding as they would before.
Thank you.
Bueno, so we are out of time. questions that you may have. We are now going to our reception, so we can mingle and have more informal conversations with our panelists. Thank you very much for your attention.